Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, Bashem Rakak Wadash. My name is Yakalba from Plaintables Camp in Philly. This lesson is going to be on Russia, Judah, and Caucasus Mountains, Khazars. You hear Black and Caspian Sea, Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, and Russia. So about here, I should have a map. But Khazar, so they're Turkic people. Right here, see Georgia, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, and Russia. All right, this makes up the Khazar as cognate. All right. And even, let's see, it tells you here, even in Wikipedia, it says that there's one theory, which we believe the theory. Let's see. They had, and say an evolution of the state of their people. You had at one point they were in a really, destroyed state, as Job 30 says, and then they started to be loose from that curse. All right. Now we go down here. It says, whereas the Khazars disappeared after the fall of the empire, subject to many conjectures. I mean, they were absorbed into the Ukraine and Russia, the Khazars. All right, and they moved in when they converted to a mystical form of Christianity, or a mystical form of the Hebrew faith. They moved west into Europe. It says Khazar factors. Let's go down here. It says the Turkic speaking and their Crimean neighbors, the Crimean Karaites, the Moldovan, the Mountain Jews, even some. The late 19th century saw the emergence of the theory, Khazar myth, that the core of today's Ashkenazi are descendants from the hypothetical Khazarian diaspora, which migrated westward from modern-day Russia and Ukraine into modern-day France and Germany. All right, so that's the theory out there, which we believe the theory is true. All right. Now, I have this excerpt. Where is it at? This is from the Synagogue of Satan. It says, the riddle of those who say they are but are not and do lie may be explained by the fact that the men at the top of their power in the Synagogue of Satan organization have been proven by many respected researchers to be Khazar, also called Ashkenazi. The Khazar were a Turk-Mongol people who lived centuries ago in the kingdom of Khazaria. All right. Eventually to be integrated into Russian Empire by the Tsars. All right. So they split up. The kingdom was, absorbed into Russia. Some of them moved westward into Europe. Some of them moved south into Turkey, modern day Turkey. But you had different groups of, let's say, Edomites, because that's their actual origin. Their origin is the Turk, Mongol. These are all just made up words. All right, that came after Esau, Edom. All right, but Turk, Mongol, that's more east toward Moab and Ammon. All right. Says Khazar eventually to be integrated into the Russian Empire. The king of the Khazars forced his citizens, upon penalty of death, to convert to the Hebrew faith. Later, meaning keep the laws. Later, after their takeover by hostile enemies, demographers and historians say that the Khazars migrated into Eastern Europe, especially to Poland, France, Romania, Hungary, to Germany. All right, so you had Edomites dwelling in Khazar. You had Edomites dwelling outside of Khazar. All right. There in Europe, the Khazars, who said they were and practiced a mystical and pagan form of Judaism, gathered in their own communities, keeping separate from those around them. They classified as Gentiles and to be racial inferiors. In fact, the racial inferiorities of Gentiles was taught to them in their Talmud. So how the theory goes, which is true, we believe to be true, is that the Khazars, which are Edomites, migrated from the Khazar kingdom into Europe when their kingdom was on a decline. All right. So they had to choose a religion which wasn't Islam or Christianity or keeping the Hebrew customs, Hebrew Israelite customs. It was something else, something pagan outside of those three. All right. And they moved west into Europe. Now back in the Caucasus, all right, you have this mountain range in the Caucasus Mountains in Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. It's a mountain range that goes across like down to the where's that map at? That's the Caucasus right here. These Caucasus. This mountain range right here. It's pretty big. So they lived here, but they lived not just here, but they lived up here too. Well, let me show you a map. So the Caucasus the mountains would be like about right here. Oh, as they're showing it. And that's the main mountain range. But I'm sure there are other mountains and hills, other places, but it's notable right here. You can see it clearly. I'm sure there are other mountain ranges or small hills and other caves that they dwelled in besides that part, because that just only consists of certain, let's say, the southern part of Khazaria. We're down here, but you still had this whole part up here also. All right, so here's their houses. All right, actual caves. So it's not something that we just making up. This is their actual caves that they were dwelling in. All right. All right, which means mountain dweller or cave dweller. All right, where they lived in the mountains, but they had to dig out caves to actually live in. Now I know why they did this. Was it for? I mean, what was their thinking behind it? Was it like permanent protection, like houses that couldn't be destroyed? Or because they could have just dwelled in tents or built structures. I'm sure they did build structures, farther north. Because I don't think this could house every single, Edomite Khazar. So, but this is where, some of them were dwelling. That's why they got this is where they get their infamous name from. Right there. See the Caucasus right there. All right. Some different pictures. I'm starting to see these Greek/Roman type arches. I'm not an expert in the makeup of these, but you know, you could argue. It may have been built a little later. Let's see. She's going on vacation. Oh, she got a little video. Check the video out.
Okay, we're going on another adventure today. To the cool. Look at that. I'm sure there's a reason, but again, the audio guides weren't available to English, so we're kind of going into this blind. That's okay. A place I wanted to go for about 8 months now. So beautiful. Like, damn, this country's beautiful. How long? So I'm trying to follow this, like, off the path. Let's figure it out. A path? Guardrails at all. Love, I think we go up here to get there. Oh, it's a bathroom. Squatty potty.
Yeah, we know they didn't have
I'm actually
those.
surprised. I really didn't think there would be toilets up here.
Now we know they didn't have those.
There's toilets, that's what this is.
Those holes probably what they was shitting in that she was showing.
Here we go.
Now that looks like a later structure. That's obviously is. Go back to the cage, woman. There we go. All right. So you pretty much get the idea. They were dwelling in caves. Now, obviously not all of them, but because I don't think it's that actually enough space for every, Khazar to dwell in those mountains. But that's where they get their name from, Caucasus. Look like Greek. No, that was Slavic. Yeah, those hoes. I don't know. Was that what they were cooking in there? Were they shitting in there, pissing in there? I don't know. Because I think all these caves had these little holes. Those little, like, at least two holes. I think they might have been cooking in there, or like heating the cave, or shitting in there. I don't know. But it's like a big apartment complex.
Like an hour?
All right, which is nothing but a fucking project.
Just only begun to scratch the surface.
Yep. Whole communities. And these are not natural formations. I was trying to say, well, are these natural formations? No, these can't be natural formations.
Like, do it on your own.
And yeah, it's probably for protection. This is like hard to take. If you were to be attacked, well, eventually they did decline anyway, because your house is up here, and then but your crops are down there. You're gonna starve you out. Yeah, this is a whole civilization carved out of stone or rock.
That they make or made their wine in.
Now I'll put her video down here. Now this is different caves from the caves that are in, I believe, modern day Lebanon, I believe, and Petra. All right, same people. I believe the Bible says that the Horites dwelled there first. But this is a different land region from Petra. Let me go to the map. So there'll be no confusion. So this is the Caucasus here. But yeah, Petra. Let's see. Jordan. Petra, ancient rock cut city in a deep valley. All right, so this is two different areas. I believe the Horites might, if I'm not mistaken, either Hamites or Arabs. Ishmael. You have to just look it up. That's Petra. Modern day. Is that Jordan? Yes, Jordan. Yeah. You even got to see the formations. Got plenty of pictures of the cutouts. They just like high places. Esau likes high places, likes rocks. All right, so that's different from the Caucasus, but same people though. In Georgia, Russia. Yeah. I'm thinking they cooking in them holes, so she gonna find what them holes are for too.
But Georgia's known for making their wine in little clay barrels in the ground, so maybe that's where it started from.
Yeah, I think they probably cooking in those holes.
So we just got.
Yeah, this is they had to dig this out by hand.
One of the monasteries here, but you can't film inside. I didn't realize this. I kind of made a mistake. I was supposed to cover my head, and I didn't. Now one of the monks, he didn't say anything. Like once I realized that I apologized, he's like, "Oh, no problem." I was like, "Oof, I feel bad." We did bring.
You gotta cover your head, woman. Alright. Alright. So, yes, I'm sure it's a lot of good footage she has here. The Caucasus.
Oh my gosh, I would totally freak out by myself because I'm claustrophobic. Not claustrophobic. I'm just terrified of getting stuck somewhere and no one being able to find me, like an elevator. An elevator were to stick, get stuck, I would be holy shit, that's a long way down.
Oh no, Esau did it, but he did it. Oh, no.
Anyways, not necessarily claustrophobic. I just have a fear of being stuck.
All right, woman, come on now. Let's go through the caves.
Could get out.
Got steps, got areas to put their food in or cook, and little holes.
In the one way.
It's like ultimate protection from like the weather.
This is not for everybody. Like,
And
in
from,
shape. Like,
I guess, the environment, the animals, attacks.
Really in shape. I am
This is really detailed. I didn't know it was this detailed in these caves. I literally just found this out today. 4th of July. It's July, 4th of July, right? Yeah. I did not know it was this detailed, these caves. So I'll probably name it something along the line of "Thou that dwells in the cliffs of the rock." But I got more. Got another part to this. Yep, whose habitation is high.
Could you imagine living here?
Could you? That's good cue. Could you imagine living here? All right. It says, Obadiah 1:3, the pride of thy heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? The clefts of the rock. Did I look up cleft? And Job 30:6, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, cliffs of the valleys, and the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. All right. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. All right.
And like, this is what you wake up to every day. Oh my God. Sign me.
But then you have to go back to that shit, though. Now, they didn't have no guardrails when they was living there. It was just a mountain. And then they dug the caves out of the mountains. You know, steps they walking up, they ain't had them damn steps like what they had some steps.
So freaking cool.
Sure they had to they had to reshape the steps.
Can't get over this landscape.
Probably those steps are probably the newest thing on there in the bathroom.
Oh, these are
I saw like brick type. Let's see on the side. Let's see, I guess there may be more modern, or may not be. Just what all the steps look like naturally right here. How it is. Look like it's carved straight out of the rock. And there's a hand railing one there. It's a wild beast, man. I mean, just imagine. See, they're using the hand railings. They got water with them. They installed the bathroom. They reformed the steps. I don't. This Edomite don't know that this her part of her a family, a tribe of her people. If she's a heathen, I don't know. She do look like she would a Jake or a Hamite or something. But let's say she Edomite for now. One of her tribe members used to live here. All right, and they had them damn railings or a bathroom. They had them damn big ass pots. They were pissing and shitting and they were cooking in. All right. Now, this is where Esau dwelled. All right, and these are the same people that converted to a mystical form of the Hebrew customs and went into Europe and separated themselves from the people that were already there. Here's some more evidence on that. I looked up the origin of the yarmulke. As a European started wearing the yarmulke or kippah in the 17th and 18th centuries, turning the skull cap into a religious symbol. That's nowhere in the law or the prophets. It says pious are expected to cover their heads. That is obviously in violation of our customs. All right. And it tells you in Corinthians 11 chapter not to cover it. The man's not supposed to cover his head, but the woman is supposed to be covered. And I looked up origin of the yarmulke on the Pope. The advent of the rounded yarmulke took place in the 16th century when Rabbi Korah made a Talmud interpretation, see the Talmud, that resulted in a decree. All right. Now I got this here. Did you know? Why does the Pope wear a yarmulke? Or perhaps more correctly, why do Jews wear the zucchetti? Okay, let's back up a bit. Both of these religions have the customs of wearing a skull cap style of hat. All right, which we don't actually. First of all, so who was first and greater of interest? Why did the customs begin? Well, they're referring to the Edomites, all right, that are wearing this style. All right, let me correct myself. The origin of the Jewish headwear is not well documented and probably began around the 8th century A.D. All right, it's long after the Lord was, put to death and resurrected. However, about 800 years approximately. However, those caps were likely cone-shaped. The advent of the round yarmulke took place in the 16th century when Rabbi Korah made a Talmud interpretation that resulted in the decree. Catholic history is no more precise in this regard, but frescoes show the familiar headgear in place as early as 1290. So Catholicism gets the Baal as the first religion to embrace this style. Wow. According to this guy right here, he's a worshiper, he's a believer. I guess Catholicism, I guess. So the Catholics were wearing the headgear before the Khazar Ashkenazis. All right, 1290 Catholicism, and 800 for the Khazars. All right, I think I'm done with this. Now we're going to my second part. When you look up, the history of Russia, it starts in the Ukraine, obviously, what they call Ukraine today. And how we know, we bring our scripture out when we prove about who the powers are that were ruling Europe before, our ancestors integrated with the Edomites. And pretty much the darker skinned people that were ruling Europe and Russia died off. They literally, their genetic line died off, and the genetic line of the Edomites, whether they be Khazars or not, became dominant. Now you had the Black Death or the Black Plague. That was one of the things that killed off a lot of, melanated people that were in Russia and Europe. All right. So when we look these things up and say, well, Israel and say melanated people, which are Israelites, had the prominent positions in Europe and Russia. All right, and the spread of so-called Christianity was spread by Israelites. All right. Now, you could say they weren't keeping it correctly, like how it was taught, by the disciples and the apostles. All right, but that's not the point of this. The point is that Christianity was spread by Israelites first. All right. Vladimir, let's say, Slavic. Let's just go with that. Also known as Vladimir the Great, or for short, you're going to say Vlad. All right, Vladimir the Great was a prince of Novgorod, Grand Prince of Kiev, and ruler of the Kievan Rush from 980 to 1015. All right, his father was Prince Svatoslav the First of Kiev. All right, I'm not sure why he's not a king, but let's move on. Why I bring him up is because of his sons Boris and Gleb. All right, and there's paintings and pictures of them. Now, within all the the European and Asian, Russian, the kings, they married Edomites, or they had influence. Because right here it even shows you here that he was an Israelite, Vladimir the Great. Vladimir's effigy, what the hell? I didn't know I said that. Sculpture of Mana.
Effigy.
On one of his coins, he is crowned in the Byzantine style, holding a cross-mounted staff in one hand and a Khazar-inspired trident in the other hand. So you can see where the culture started to mix and mingle. Sort of like Assyrians and Babylonians. A lot of their culture was intertwined with each other. All right? So you get confusion, would transpire. All right, so his sons Boris and Gleb. So let's look up Boris and Gleb. This is predecessor, successor. Well, it's issues from Vladimir the Great. His sons, they were murdered. Saint Boris and Gleb. You see, you have a picture of what they look like here. Medieval icons of Boris and Gleb. All right. Now I have another picture. Where are you at? Boris and Gleb. All right, it was so-called black people. That's Prince Vladimir. And I believe Boris on the left and Gleb on the right, if I'm not mistaken. We got Sastoslavic, Vladimir the First, Sastoslavic. This is Vladimir's father was Prince Slav, so they got the same name. Hu Dynasty. All right. Let's go back. So let's go through Christianity. It says Prince Vladimir with his sons Boris and Gleb. That's the picture I just showed you. Let's go back here. The beginning of Christianity in Russia is inexplicably associated with Prince Vladimir of Kiev. In 988, he ordered the population of Kiev to go to the river Dnieper, I think that's how you say it, to be baptized as Christians. He commanded that the heathen idols be destroyed and that the image of the pagan Slavs' main god, Pirun, be dragged by a horse's tail to the Dnieper and drowned into the water and thrown into the water. The feast of Vladimir, or Vlad, is celebrated in the Orthodox Church on July 15th. His sons Prince Boris and Prince Gleb are as famous as their father because they were regarded as the first true Russian saints. All right, Boris and Gleb. All right. So they were murdered in a battle. Says they were murdered by their half brother Sayal-Tolpok in the battle over who succeeded their father's throne. They were quickly became revered as martyrs for the non-violent way they faced their murderers. Okay. According to tradition, I think that's all we need from there. And that's Vladimir and Boris and Gleb. All right, you can see you got the long robes or garments, which the end is really supposed to be a border of blue. But these are Israelites, all right, because Christianity was spread in Europe and Russia by Israelites. And they weren't worshiping, correctly. They had their other, religions that were mingled in, because Constantine, I believe in the third century AD, he already had a mingled pagan beliefs within the religion of Christianity. All right. So here's a prophecy, Genesis 49:10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and to him shall the gathering of the people be. That's Yahweh Shah, the Lord. Peace. All right, just binding a fowl unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothing in the blood of grapes. It says, binding his fowl unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. And the thing you might not know about donkeys or ass, they're very protective animals. I've watched videos on donkeys keeping people away from fires, attacking other animals that are attacking sheep. Donkeys are very protective. All right, so that might be something else you can, ponder upon about why the Lord was on a donkey. You could say, yeah, the Lord was humble. He didn't come in on a horse, which he could have came in. But a donkey, yes, it is a more humble animal in relative to a horse, or a much larger, stronger beast. But an ass is strong, and a donkey is very protective. All right. So I think I'll end it there. I pretty much made my point. I'll name this video something along the lines of thou that dwellest in the cleft of the rock.
Which I think you should. But if you don't want to, or you can't, that right there is the start of the monastery, and you can just cut through.
This is where the Edomites, one of the places that the Edomites dwelled before they had a, let's say, 40 left, the Caucasus Mountains. This is one of the places they dwelled, because you had Edomites that were dwelling in different places. All right, this is one of them. Petra was another one. All right, and they weren't in power. You had Israelites that were in power in Kiev and Russia, in France and Germany. All right, in Britain, England, north and amongst the Vikings. All right, in Greece. All right, the royalty, the higher ups, the noblemen. All right, and you had Edomites scattered amongst them, and then a lot of our ancestors died off from diseases and through purging that was done by the Edomites. All right, but this is one of their homelands, the clefts of the rock, in what we call today Georgia. All right, where the Caucasus Mountains reside. That's where they had their crops. See that down there? They probably had their crops down there. Had sheep. Had sheep going over there. Rams, goats, and juniper bushes. Which juniper bush you would have? The bush that bears fruit. I have some of those. I have capsules of those juniper berries, and you have the root. Couldn't find the root. Well, I stopped looking for it. It's a little while ago, but I found the berries. All right, so it makes sense if they were eating the root, they were eating the berries too. Unless they were that damn stupid, they didn't eat the berries. All right, got a juniper plant or bush. I believe it's a plant and a tree, but I know the juniper, I think it's a bush I'm referring to. Bears fruit, bears berries. And I'm assuming there that the root is edible. Remember, they ain't had no guardrails back then when Esau was dwelling up in here. No, they still lived there. They just built like modern houses outside of the caves. All right, then it was a certain point where they came out of these caves and they moved into Europe. And they started getting some of their sense back. Be civilized, to wear clothes properly. To cook your food. If it's not steak. Long as it's not steak. Or I guess seafood, like calamari or whatever. They cook everything else, but they won't cook the steak. Alright. I think calamari is sushi. I'm not sure. I don't eat this shit, so. Yeah, this is where Esau dwelled at. And this is part of his heritage. The original cavemen. One of the most, if not the original, like I said, the Bible said the Horites dwelled there. The Edomites made it famous. Now that's the end of the video. It's just going to talk in the camera. That's Unique Travel Adventures. So that's her visit to the Caucasus. So, hope this was edifying. Again, recap. The original, say the noblemen, the nobility of Russia were Israelites, and this dates back to 900. Year 988 was a date. All right. Prince Vladimir, Sostoslavic, and his sons Boris and Gleb. All right. We found out that the Edomites, one of the kingdoms that they dwelled in, was in Georgia. All right. They dwelled there. They actually dug caves out of a mountain and lived there. And they lived like beasts. Let's go back up. But now they that were younger than but now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness, in former times desolate and waste. Yeah, because Israel, let's see, look at the map. As, let's say, whether it were persecution or need, you had these group of Edomites that fled, that migrated from their original land down here, Petra, southern Israel. They migrated up into Turkey. All right, they were nomads, and up into the Caucasus. Then they formed a kingdom. You had many of them that dwelled in caves. All right, and what was the reason? What does the Bible say? It says, for want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness, and in former time desolate and waste. So their sojourning led them up into Turkey and Georgia. All right, between the Black and Caspian Sea. All right, and that family of Edomites formed a kingdom. And many of them were living like wild beasts. All right. It says 30 in Job 30 and 4, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. Let's look up mallows. A plant that grows in salt marshes. Okay. Look up mallow and the mallow plant. So it says the mallow. It says herbaceous plant with hairy stem, pink or purple flowers, and disc-shaped fruit. Several kinds are grown. Yeah, so they're different, I guess, call them species. Then it says another plant that grows in salt marshes. So I'll look up mallows. Mallow. I believe that's where you get marshmallow from, if I'm not mistaken. It says mallow plant nutrition foraging for wild mulva leaves. So they're different species. But, the Bible says mallow. So what mallow? Not sure, but let's just go with this mallow. The point is that, it's certain things that, Esau did eat were nutritious. Like the juniper root. I'm sure they ate the berry also. And the mallow. It says mallow or mulva comes from the large family of Malvaceae plant, which also includes okra. All right, let's go down here. All parts, including the leaves, are used specifically as a mild laxative, diuretic, anti-inflammatory, with soothing,
demulcent,
and
expectorant
properties. than help to clear mucus from the body. All right, so it's a healthy plant. The leaves, roots, and flowers of the common mallow plant are all edible and have a long history of the use in herbal medicine as a wild food source. All right, there you go. Anti-inflammatory. It's a wild food source. You can actually eat these. Anti-inflammatory. It's a very mild laxative. So if you eat a bunch of it, you'll have to use the restroom. And diarrhea makes you urinate, right?
Diuretic.
Causing increased passing of urine. So it'll clean your system out if you eat this mallow. All right. It says, who cut up mallows by the bushes. All right. And juniper roots for their meat. Let's look up juniper. It's juniper. This is the juniper berries. This is a tree. I think it's a bush. I mentioned a bush before. Those are the berries. What the Bible says, juniper root. So those are the berries. All right, these they definitely look wild. They can grow in the wild. So I'm sure Esau was eating these. I'll type in juniper root. So I don't know if that's a juniper root. Yeah, it's not really going to give me nothing. And maybe you could boil it. I know there are roots that we eat, so. What about, is there a bush? No, it looks like it's just a tree. Yeah, it looks like it's just a tree. So yeah. Yeah, but it says who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. Now they could have either ate the root or could have chewed on it, depending on if it's if it's edible or not. Because when you look up juniper, you got two things that come back. You got the juniper tree, and then you have another. We look up juniper. It says Ratham, the boom plant. You look at the boom plant. It's a different plant. So whatever one they were eating, may have been eating both. All right. The berries, like I looked up, in juniper, they're edible, but the root may or may not be edible. If they weren't eating it, they were chewing on it for some medicinal effect, and that's why they stayed alive in that beast-like state, because they were eating those herbs, because if you're eating, out of your your ancestors, skulls, using them as dishes, pretty much plates and bowls, and living like that in the caves, you would have to take herbs to combat all that filth in your body. So they were full of worms and different bacterias. It would make sense that they could consume herbs that you're not supposed to consume in high quantity. They could consume it in high quantity because their body was so polluted Alright. So I think I'll leave that there. I'll leave that there. This was thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. So hope you edified. Shalom.